We are all too familiar with the ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving that have developed as a result of our upbringing and the experiences we've had in the past. These patterns might make us feel as if there's an unseen power at work, shaping our perceptions and actions. They manifest in subtle ways sometimes, and in more obvious ways other times, but they are never absent. Being self-aware is the first step in overcoming these mental barriers. The goal is not to suppress or ignore our emotions, but to learn to live in the now while experiencing them. Entering a state of non-judgmental awareness beckons us to stop fighting or denying our feelings and ideas, and just let them be. Healing starts in this place of vulnerability and openness. Awakening to the fact that we are not our ideas or feelings requires practice of mindfulness and presence. We are the expansive arena where these events take place and fade away. This understanding gives us room to breathe, a tranquility that doesn't fluctuate with the world around us. True spiritual awakening can take place when one achieves this inner calm. Before we dive deeper into this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more content on self-discovery. Watching our videos regularly can truly support your personal growth. The core of the meditation retreat is imparted to you at the outset in this manner. It would be sufficient if you knew it in your bones and could see it right away. Additionally, you would come to understand the profound truth that is articulated in numerous teachings. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. The tranquility of being present is found here. Being in that condition of vigilant attention is necessary to allow this moment to be. Otherwise, you can be utterly absorbed by whatever comes up at this very moment, be it a thought, an emotion, or something outside of yourself. That is going to entangle you with your sense of identity. Thinking is to be associated with this. If you're not careful, the constant flow of ideas might ensnare you in its conditioned mental frameworks. The origin of evil or unconsciousness can be traced back to this condition of internal tension. There is evil in the world because people are spiritually asleep, caught in their conditioned thought patterns. This is the source of their deep unconsciousness. It is our responsibility to see that within ourselves. We must be able to observe, be present with, and receptive to whatever comes our way, whether it is from within or without. Whatever occurs, whether it's a joyful or sad occurrence, there is always something bigger than it. Anyway, they're transient. The joy you felt at the time will wear off if you hold on to it too tightly. When you let yourself be intimidated by negative emotions or events, you will respond defensively and start to fear the world around you. This is the result of the plenty of things to be afraid of, both within and outside of oneself. Though it may not be immediately apparent, there is a common thread running through the stories of those who have survived or had a near-death experience, even though what appears awful from the outside is tragic from the inside. A lot of people say they're terrified, right up until the last second, but somehow they manage to stay alive just in time. Afterward, individuals frequently talk about how peaceful and tranquil it was, pain-free, a pure state of mind, and for months afterward, individuals frequently talk about how peaceful and tranquil it was. One of the most prominent themes that appears in near-death experiences is this. Somehow, in those last minutes, people seem to undergo a metamorphosis, a profound calmness, despite the seemingly insurmountable circumstances. Experiencing this tranquility in one's final moments is also possible. Some have claimed to have died psychologically after enduring excruciating pain. Upon passing out, they felt a comparable calm. Even in the most seemingly insurmountable catastrophe or disaster, there is always a more positive aspect to consider. Despite the fact that this is not immediately apparent to us, there is a redeeming force at work here. It finally hits you. You are not your outward appearance in this world. A spiritual awakening can occur when your form identity, your bodily life, is in danger. Curiously, this emergence of consciousness, or spiritual awakening, can occur in as little as the final 5 seconds of a person's life. The flowering will occur regardless of the timing. Some spiritual traditions hold that one may have glimpses of their essential self even after death of the body. You risk being reborn if you let these chances pass you by, but I am not here to introduce you to a new set of beliefs. There is always the chance of awakening away from connection with this form, even when your survival as a form identity is in danger. Of late, having lost touch with my senses, I include song in my practice. The first is a physical danger to your life. The second is the disintegration of your psychological form, identity, the one you've built from your past, your stories, and your pursuit of happiness. The guide will show you how to embody both pieces so you can live as fully as possible and take advantage of the wisdom from these two states of being. The mental capacity to endure pain reaches a breaking point at times. Sudden detachment from shape is a real possibility in these situations. A change in awareness is represented by this disidentification, which is notoriously hard to put into words. Those who have gone through this may claim that after they die mentally, there is complete calm. There is an immense calmness within, even while everything around is in utter disarray. In spiritual sense, I don't know what that is, but it appears to be even there. There was calm, tranquility, and life all at once, according to many. Maybe there is no other way to put it. Whence does that originate? In the midst of impending doom and destruction, what is that? How did that just materialize? Luckily, that realization might also come from another direction. That is, unless you want to wait for a catastrophe to strike, or for your own physical demise. The alternative is the possibility that develops as a result of spiritual instruction, which is not instruction in the traditional sense, but rather instruction that is potently born from that condition of enlightenment. A few suggestions are made, but there is strength in those suggestions. And another possible interpretation is that you are here to die to your form identity, to fully identify with your physical and psychological form. Regardless of denials, everyone knows that the form will eventually go. Whether that's at the age of 95 or 100, in a violent explosion caused by a lunatic, or when you least expect it, like breaking your neck from slipping on a banana peel. This is a terrifying condition to be in. The face of death may change, but its essence remains constant. For this reason, we pause to remember the thousands of people who lost their lives. We acknowledge that, on a surface level, it is incredibly sad and awful. Nevertheless, we also perceive a deeper layer to the situation. This isn't a faith that seeks to find a way to justify it so that we can feel less pain. No, it's just realizing how delicate this thread of phenomenal reality is, and how transient all forms are. Something new is starting with that realization. To you, it appears peculiar. When you see it, what does it signify? Every living thing has such a brief lifespan, doesn't it? Since our damnation is certain, shouldn't we be mourning constantly? You would know precisely how much time is left if you could have a small date on your hand. However, the reality remains. Everyone here is doomed to die. Therefore, the fact that we aren't all constantly moaning and groaning is a miracle. Why don't they cry all the time? Why? Because deep down, you know this isn't the whole truth. No one could survive if that happened. But what's the point? Since everything is doomed to fail anyhow, why bother? I couldn't agree more. Everyone, even your own children, is going to perish. All of it is vanishing, like dust. If it doesn't break down violently, then time will do the trick, and it's fast too. Surrender your mind to violent death, and it's fast too. Everything in this room, including the things that seem solid, is being reduced to dust if you could view it in a video that compresses 2,000 years into 1 minute. You can't see it now, but they're already disintegrating. Wow, that would really blow my mind. Everything in this world, including appearances, is fleeting. If you could witness the collapse of phenomenal reality in a single minute. Every shape, including this one, is already vanishing. It would be completely undetectable if nothing else were present. There would be no use in recognizing anything if it were only transient. Its significance lies in the fact that it is visible and cognizable, not in the form of a concept, but as an awareness, an open presence. All that is required is observation, observing the gradual or sudden dissolution of shape while maintaining an open eye position, puts one in a condition of utter amazement. You are witness to the ebb and flow of all living things, their birth and death. Can you make out the object? Just being aware of it is a step toward enlightenment. After you've seen it, your mind will try to explain it, so it looks trivial. It's not like that. All right, then I'm going to stop trying because it's all for naught, the mind may tell you. But that's only the mental conclusion. It takes you in the opposite direction once again. If we can just observe it, without making any assumptions, and let ourselves be carried away by the passing of forms, not only death, but all forms, then we will be really present. Someone is present. Out of nowhere, consciousness is acknowledged. Exercise caution in this situation. It would be most effective if I just walked out of the room and stopped talking, but it would cause chaos. I am offering you some advice in the form of slightly diverse points of view. Everything fits together when one is receptive to what comes to pass, to what is born into this very moment, and then disappears. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is how you look at it. It is tremendous to realize that all forms in your life are transient, and to accept this fact about yourself. Yes, it's all impermanent. Doesn't have to be a mental term. This is acknowledged in this open-mindedness. It is freeing to realize that which transcends the ebb and flow of forms originates inside you. In their final moments, those who are near death become aware of this fact. A person experiences this dissociation when they stop associating their sense of self with a certain form and instead live their lives in a reactive manner to the events of the present moment. In response to every shape, the small me either strengthens your feeling of form identity or rejects anything that can undermine it. Feeling threatened is a typical experience for forms. When your sense of self is purely physical, your connection with the world is one of constant reaction. As a psychological defense mechanism, you are constantly on the lookout for potential danger to your very survival. What can you do to feel safer? What more can you do to improve your feeling of being? The drive to fortify one's sense of self is a common factor in shaping one's identity and the ways in which one may seek to do so. The failure to acknowledge our essential nature, something beyond form, gives rise to this yearning. Failure to recognize this fundamental reality forces people to perpetuate unfinished narratives about me based on superficial physical and mental representations of who they are. A desire to supplement it emerges from the fact that it is lacking something. Sometimes, our lesser selves go to great lengths to achieve enlightenment, thinking that would be the pinnacle of human achievement. The lesser self expects fulfillment with material triumphs, like a huge automobile or house, yet it is still insufficient. So, people go out on a quest for nirvana in the hopes that it will bring them ultimate satisfaction, a last destination where they will be at peace with the world. But enlightenment is neither a temporal event nor an isolated occurrence, characterized by spectacular feelings and pyrotechnics. Even if such times do happen, they are brief, and the need for something new soon after. The point isn't to amass a collection of spiritual experiences. After a while, they'll wear off, and you might end up wanting more. A strong desire to fortify one's ego and feeling of self might arise when the mind becomes engrossed in form. Extreme actions, such a complete absence of empathy, can result when individuals are reduced to nothing more than labels. Engrossed in this way of thinking, one's identity gets so set in stone that they fail to see the humanity in other people. Mental categorizations exist as a barrier between an individual and the other, preventing genuine comprehension and connection. Don't play with colors, see the physical reality. Mental categorizations exist as a barrier between individual and the other, preventing genuine comprehension and connection. The degree to which this mental structure, which originates from connecting with form, operates varies. Although it's unlikely that anyone here is totally mired in their unconscious, these thought patterns can show up in subtle ways. The distortion of human interactions that can result from the use of labels and judgments has the potential to cause isolation on both an individual and a societal level. Disagreement arises when people and communities fail to recognize and address their own unconscious biases. People are stuck in a vicious cycle when they identify too strongly with a particular form, whether that's their country, religion, or some other group identity. The mind creates these identities, and the pattern includes using opponents as a means of self-definition. Such collective lunacy is littered across history, with organizations, rather than individuals, doing the gravest acts of brutality and bloodshed. In addition to race, the greatest torment of man was created. Entering this state of unconsciousness, which is characterized by total identification with one's physical body, is risky. This bond can be with a person, a group, a religion, or even a country. Enemies must exist for this mental construct to work. Such identification may appear less harmful at the individual level, but the group level can have considerably more devastating implications. Avoiding the same unconsciousness is difficult, but it becomes more difficult in times of communal catastrophe. Keep your wits about you, and don't let yourself be sucked into the mental traps that lead to more violence and division. Both individual and group efforts are inevitable. What matters is that you don't get too caught up in the details. Society faces a problem in overcoming mental illusions and escaping their clutches. This problem is just as pertinent now as it was then. Getting out of the never-ending cycle of conflict and transcending the mind's fixation on form is the challenge that society faces as it encounters its many crises. We are all on this path together, and our collective consciousness is changing, if only subtly. The more people who become aware of this fact, the more our shared understanding will grow, and the more hope there will be for a future free from the insanity and divisions of the past. Christopher Moore, The Garden of the Mind, Calmness, Breathing Space. Even inside oneself, old thought patterns can surface. In trying times, the pain body may sometimes show up. Although its manifestation may not match the level of severe insanity seen in the world, the underlying cause, an obsession with form and an absence of expansive awareness, remains same. An individual's incapacity to perceive any viewpoint apart from the one associated with their form identity is a common consequence of this identification. In debates, when arguing for a position gets emotionally heated due to the conviction that one is completely correct, this myopic view can show itself as emotional rigidity. Observing these instances makes it clear how emotionally driven mental constructions can gather tremendous velocity. Although at first glance this occurrence appears to have nothing to do with more significant catastrophic occurrences, they actually share a common subconscious. One should not, however, give up holding opinions because of this. On the contrary, it stresses how important it is to remember that one's own viewpoint is only one of many. Changing one's viewpoint might sometimes bring to light its own reality. Still, there isn't a single perspective that sums up reality. One need not identify fully with their viewpoint in order to articulate it. Sometimes the most interesting features of a viewpoint are its complete absence, given the right setting. Being cognizant of this dynamic is of utmost importance, especially in a world where extremes of thought and conduct are becoming more and more apparent. Take the United States of America as an example. It's a place where you may find people at the most extremities of kindness, inventiveness, spirituality, and violence. The direction of change at such a location, since these extremes reflect the huge concentration of energy there, we still don't know if our awareness will grow or if the unconscious will take over. A recent drive served as a striking illustration of these extremes. Two seemingly incompatible inscriptions were displayed on the back window of a car: "God bless America" and "Kill them all." This contrast highlights the paradoxical aspect of human cognition, where deep principles and destructive impulses coexist. Regardless, we must never lose sight of how everything is related. The opportunity cost is exactly the opposite of the supplementary future value. The introspection carried out during times of calm is intricately related to the mayhem experienced in other parts of the world. Collective unconsciousness's broader expressions reflect these individuals' inner architecture. There will be a recurrence of past events unless people learn to think differently. The devastating effects of unconsciousness, which have been magnified by technological advancements, are vividly illustrated by the events of the 20th century. The consequences of science and technology magnify human unconsciousness, even though these things are not intrinsically dangerous. The persistence of such tendencies could endanger humanity's survival unless there is a change in consciousness, and so they can be dangerous when the thoughts of the past are vividly. Still, things can get better. Changes are taking place, and consciousness is always trying to improve. A shift from outgoing, action-oriented tendencies toward introverted contemplation and heightened self-awareness is taking shape. Still, unconsciousness and reactivity live side by side with this change. Whether people opt for more self-awareness or get stuck in reactionary habits will determine our fate. At this pivotal juncture, being alert to inner developments is key to making sense of the present. Being mindful and changing one's behavior is possible through non-judgmental observation of one's thoughts and emotions. This procedure allows for the emergence of deliberate activity, separate from reactive conduct. People evolve as a species because of these epiphanies. In addition, affirmations help you to change your behavior and insight so that you can satisfy more and more of our superior guidance. Just leave them be. The room is all around them. Mindfulness requires observation of both the internal monologue, or discourse, and the outward manifestation of mental energy in social interactions. Never take yourself too seriously. It will serve you well both now and in the future. Just knowing that we are more than the conditioned mental construct can be incredibly freeing. A non-attached presence, one that sees the mind for what it is implied by not taking the mind seriously. Realizing this helps to lighten the mood of the mind. Historians, this watchful eye might even materialize during a contentious discussion or difficult encounter. Conversations and interactions can show a lot about how the mind works, but quiet times can also help bring this knowledge to the surface. Some positions may require defense, while others may give rise to complaints or grievances. Whether expressed aloud or suppressed, these grievances reveal how frequently the mind tries to find fault with other people or circumstances so it can feel right. Being right reinforces the egoic identity, offering a fleeting sense of fulfillment but causing chronic tension and dissatisfaction. An ingrained mental habit is to gripe. With each emergence, a gradual tightening, a rejection of reality takes place. Although the ego enjoys it in the short term, the mental and physical health suffers in the long run. Anxiety and disease can result from chronic resistance because it stops the body's energy from flowing freely. This pattern can be a game changer when observed in oneself. It's not about putting up with bad behavior or not set limits when you see fit, like saying no when someone is being disrespectful. Rather, it's about being aware of the habit of letting one's discontent fester, leading one's thoughts to dwell on the past and magnify the present. The mind's subtle resistance to being in the here and now is also brought to light by this knowledge, in addition to more obvious grievances. Regardless of how picturesque the setting, one's critical thoughts are likely to persist. It is crucial to observe this tendency without passing judgment. If, for instance, you become aware that you've been harboring a string of grievances in your head for the past few minutes or hours, you shouldn't be hard on yourself. Just recognize it. This is not a method for getting rid of thoughts, but rather for understanding what they are and how they impact our lives. While it may be freeing to not take one's thoughts seriously, it may be intimidating to someone who has developed a strong attachment to their thoughts. The egocentric sense of self is challenged by the very suggestion that one should not take themselves too seriously. Having said that, this viewpoint does allow for a more profound comprehension. The mind is an innate human quality, not an individual trait. To us, it is like breathing, a unique quality. By changing one's perspective, one can approach the mind and its manifestations with more care. A range of feelings, including emotional anguish, may surface. Rather than letting this hurt get to you, try viewing it as something everyone goes through. Resisting or internalizing the anguish that events, whether local or global, cause is the surest way to keep suffering alive. Embracing the discomfort in its raw form brings a sense of spaciousness and kindness into existence. Even when the feeling is strong or challenging, this gentleness is not about being passive, but about making space for the experience. The mind is no exception to this rule of spaciousness. It is possible to break free of habitual ways of thinking and enter a higher state of awareness if one does not take mental processes too seriously. Rather than being new in the sense that it has just emerged, this awareness has always been there. It is grace, the broad and all-pervasive nature of unconditioned awareness. It changes lives when it's acknowledged, like sunshine pouring into a house with all the shutters closed. It stays concealed without this acknowledgement. Close quote. Developing this kind of consciousness can be as simple as tuning into the vitality that is inside your physical form. An opportunity to detach from habitual thinking arises when one feels the subtle energy field that surrounds every cell. What gives a body its vitality is not the flesh and blood, but the mind and spirit that dwell inside it. Experiencing this heightens one's sensitivity to the here and now, bringing one out of mental distraction and into a more direct relationship with the environment around them. Experiencing this heightens one's sensitivity to the environment around them. The mental processing involved in carrying out a job or assignment is practical and essential. On the other hand, a lot of the thinking that goes on is ingrained in habitual ways of thinking. It's not about putting a complete end to thinking. Doing so would just lead to more problems. Instead, you should acknowledge the existence of an intelligence that is both larger than and complementary to human cognition. When in harmony with this vast intelligence, the human mind excels in a wider context, and thought is just a tiny part of it. This alignment enables liberation from the mental shackles of form identification and the psychological construction of me. Being fully present in the body, inhabiting it, can assist in avoiding the automatic tendency to become distracted by thoughts, particularly when engaging in verbal conversations. Being in tune with one's body's energy field allows one to be fully present when interacting with other people. Listening to others' perspectives becomes easier in this condition, and a more expansive awareness begins to take shape. Sit quietly and let yourself be completely immersed in the moment as you listen. Allow yourself to be who you really are, fully present and aware, free from the weight of your past. It is feasible to maintain awareness in the absence of conceptualization or labeling, even though traces of prior conditioning may resurface from time to time. Being here at all times is the epitome of intellect and attentiveness. In this unconditioned state, ideas and originality can flow freely. This change signifies stepping outside of one's usual mental routines. You can't make this change happen. It will happen on its own. Meditation is a great way to honor individuals who have died by letting go of repressed feelings like anger or sadness. Embrace and accept whatever feelings or ideas arise. As a result of granting this permission, calm and space become apparent. Eventually, you'll come to accept the transience of all things and realize that the old adage is true. This too will pass. A sense of calm and space can be achieved by letting go of attachment to one's feelings and ideas. When all else crumbles, like ideas, shapes, or even actual existence, the light of something bigger emerges. Beyond appearances, this essence unveils the sanctity of life. The sacredness of death is closely related to its disintegration of form, which reveals its essence. It is common for awakening to involve dying, either mentally or almost physically. When a person reaches psychological death, they have lost all vestiges of their identity, including their beliefs and the significance they had given to those ideas. What comes out of this loss is a fundamental realization. You are not your thoughts or your physical appearance. An overwhelming sense of calmness and serenity is a common symptom of this awakening. The mind is incapable of comprehending or articulating this transcendental tranquility. It transcends the duality of life and death and is hence not contained in the domain of content. In every instant, in every place, the fundamental essence of existence is there. The mind's efforts to discover or describe this essence are fruitless, as it cannot be understood as information. Instead, it is accepted as an unchanging fact of life that does not need for any special analysis. The best answer to the question of what you learned from the retreat when it's over is nothing. That's because that's exactly what the retreat was all about. Connecting with the timeless, formless presence that binds underlying everything, rather than gaining information or content. It's much harder to get a handle on the retreat with a proper set of questions, the prior thought and feeling in the brain, than to get the feelings and the proper set of questions that underlie everything. When we let go of the shackles of habitual thought, we reveal the tremendous intellect that resides in life beyond the mental chatter. While thoughts are important, they are simply a fragment of something far larger. A more profound awareness takes control when one learns to tune into the body, remain completely present, and release conceptual labels. This leads to greater clarity, creativity, and serenity. A deeper essence is often revealed in times of loss or endings, which serves as a reminder that although forms fade, something eternal endures. It's not about stuffing one's head with more thoughts, but rather about clearing it of all distractions in order to find a calm knowing that is unaffected by the chaos of life, where genuine vitality and communion with the holy lie dormant, awaiting perception. If you enjoyed this and want to see more videos like this one about being present, subscribe. If you thought this video was inspiring, hit the like button and then forward it to someone who might use a little inspiration. Join me on a journey to appreciate the commonplace things that make life worth living, and to learn to appreciate the wonders of the present moment. Awakening is a beautiful journey. Grab the day because it is full of opportunity. Each day is a chance to grow as a person and make new connections. It is likely that your desire to develop as a person and to be present in the moment was the driving force behind your decision to view this video. This decision was made as a result of a more fundamental insight. It is for this reason that I strongly recommend that you subscribe to this channel so that you can continue your journey of self-discovery with the assistance of the new videos that we upload each day. Immediately after you have comprehended the seriousness of this caution, kindly answer by writing, "Now." Putting forth the effort, we will be able to finish this.